Aglorev Magazine Live is brought to you by
Feroga Leilani's Energy Exchange. Express yourself without saying a word.
and
Aglorev Entertainment. Mind, body, soul, energy healing.
Girls, they wanna have fun. Oh, girls just wanna have fun.
Roll out the red carpet. Aglorev Magazine Live is back and strutting her stuff. And it's Pride Month, and it's better be a big rainbow red, Technicolor everywhere, and make it fabulously fluid. Has Gemini season got your head spinning? No worries, I've got tips to steer you through the cosmic fun. Wondering if your relationship is playing hide and seek with fidelity? I've got the inside full scoop. Plus, Selena and Taylor had a girls' night out. Blake, conspicuously MIA. The drama. South Korea got fresh leadership. Survivor has crowned a new champ. And Love Island UK is heating up once again. What does it all mean? Who knows? But I promise some spicy, maybe even eyebrow-raising jokes. So keep those eyelids open and pay attention. It will all make sense. Eventually. So June started with a beautiful alignment. Venus and Jupiter are sextiling each other. Right before Venus leaves Aries to enter Taurus, its home sign. And Jupiter leaves Gemini to enter Cancer, the sign of its exaltation. Mercury is also going to transit through 3 different signs just in the month of June. So expect a bit of mental excitement. Mercury rules the mental faculties. Mercury starts June in its home sign of Gemini, but then Mercury moves into Cancer. And then about 2 weeks later, Mercury moves into Leo and will ride June out there. So June could be filled with some mental calisthenics. Don't be afraid to have difficult discussions with yourself. Sort yourself out in here, so what's out here will align. And then in the middle of June, we're going to have Mars leave Leo and into Virgo. And I love Mars and Virgo transits because the energy is conducive to getting your stuff sorted. Things just work. They come together for you and quickly. And then on June 11th, we will have a full moon in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter will be in the sign of its exaltation, where it feels super happy and thriving, meaning that the full moon in Sagittarius is going to be very eventful. It's surrounded by 4 different squares, but it'll be a very positive full moon, meaning 2 or 3 days leading up to the full moon, we'll be releasing things or realizing things. It could get a bit overwhelming, and then the days following the full moon, it'll feel free and amazing. And then we end June with the Sun, Moon, Mercury, and Jupiter all in Cancer. And we'll have the new moon in Cancer forming a conjunction with Jupiter. More on that later. A little bit more on Venus. Chiron and Venus are sitting next to each other. And this energy will bring up all the things that you've been experiencing on your healing journey. Venus brings a soft, sweet energy that can be soothing for any wounds that you still carry. But it also brings to the light any fear that you have, your relationships, your role that you have in those relationships, or your own self-worth and what you deserve. But this can actually be very helpful because as Venus moves through the last degrees of Aries before it enters into one of its home signs of Taurus, you will come into a sextile with Jupiter, which can result in overindulgence, overdoing things, over-promising too much and not being able to actually deliver on it. But Chiron's influence offers grounding. Chiron makes sure that you are not bypassing anything deep, anything important, before Jupiter energy comes in to amplify Venus's feel-good energy. Now a little bit more on the Sun and the Moon. There was a little bit of tension between the Moon in Virgo and the Sun in Gemini. Gemini wants us to adapt, pivot, and respond quickly to situations in real time. Virgo demands precision, structure, and correctness, which can slow that adaptability down. The Moon in Virgo can be emotionally rigid and resist Gemini's spontaneity, carrying over some of that righteousness and ego from Leo, wanting to get it right and avoid embarrassment, whilst the Gemini Sun wants to experiment and learn as it goes. So the key is to balance out the Sun and the Moon energy with day and night. Be the Gemini Sun during the day, responsive, communicative, engaging with others, exploring ideas, staying curious, be present in the moment. And then be the Virgo Moon at night. Be reflective, analyze and distill insights. Virgo helps organize and clean some of the Gemini's scattered thoughts. Then the Moon enters Libra, which works in harmony with Gemini. Where Virgo wants to be right, Libra wants to be fair in an argument. Virgo will likely win because it will come prepared, informed, and entirely committed to their position. Virgo is like a wrestler. It will pin you to a spot and use its weight to keep you there. Libra, however, would rather resolve the disagreement by seeking balance, compromise, and harmony. Virgo may win, but it runs the risk of isolation. Libra establishes social order and harmony. All of this is expressed in a different way, with Venus and Aries forming a trine to Mars and Leo. Mars and Leo wants us to be selfish with our energy right now, to focus our willpower and dive in on things that really matter to us as individuals, our success, our achievements, our family, our spirituality, our self-expression. Leo wears the crown of self. It seeks to embody the higher self. The divine self is ruled by the Sun, the central core energy which everything else orbits. So we have to be consumed by our own destiny right now. But Venus in Aries gives us the power to use our personality in a way that promotes optimism, goodwill, harmony, love, and exploration. Essentially, this is a time where we should be relentlessly pursuing our success, our own betterment, our own fulfillment, whilst also embodying our responsibility as a member of society, as a member of a team, a family, a network, to strengthen our bonds with each other, to engage in peace and harmony, even in conflict. You shouldn't be afraid to negotiate for a better outcome. Jupiter is in Gemini, and there's loads of good luck right now. And you can do so in a way that doesn't neglect your humanity. And this applies to every interaction. Don't be afraid to be wrong, because it's best for you to go with your impulse. But Gemini reminds us that we have to be willing to listen to the response and adapt accordingly. And when you consider the other planets as well, like Neptune and Saturn in Aries, Uranus in Taurus, Pluto in Aquarius, we have to understand that there is a much bigger mission and story unfolding, and we're all charting a new path through unknown territory under an ever-evolving and constantly shifting social, technological, and cultural systems. We have to be confident and trust ourselves right now. And we all have to support each other. The duality and the polarity of individual focus and the collective responsibility and the balancing of the two in perfect harmony. So work on you. And we got this. An unfortunately growing part of modern relationships is the possibility of cheating. I'll give you a few tips on how to search and diagnose your relationship for cheating. Since we know most cheating starts online, this means cheaters often leave a footprint that can be traced. Look for things like secret social media accounts they may have been using. There are even websites dedicated to help people cheat, like Ashley Madison, and they're in big demand, boasting over 75 million users, and that's not to mention the other more popular sites like Tinder and Hinge. According to recent studies, 2 out of 3 people on these casual dating sites are in relationships, or even worse, married. So how do you find your SP's potentially secret social media or dating account? Use online tools like Truthfinder. It's an AI search engine that scans the entire internet for data associated with individuals across the world. And it even finds out if your SP has social media or dating accounts you're unaware of. It can also find what locations they've recently visited. All you have to do is type in the name and general location, and Truthfinder will begin narrowing down individuals by asking you to confirm some of your SP's information. Things you're likely to know the answers to, like who they're related to. I'll admit it's a bit daunting when you see just how much information they can get out about someone, but it's definitely useful in helping you find the online accounts that your SP may be using, or where they've recently been. You just have to check once a month for a few months to get the best results. And it's legal. Private investigators use these kind of tools, and you don't have to be licensed to use it. You really don't have much to lose, and it can give you some peace of mind. Now, whether it's a wife or a husband cheating, they'll show similar signs. And some things to look for to tell if your SP is cheating are not celebrating. Whether it's Valentine's Day, a birthday, or Christmas. If you notice that your partner isn't excited, as usual, about the gifts you get them, that's a big sign. They are either checked out of the relationship or they're into someone else. Because people who are into someone else don't want to keep leading you on. And don't forget that cheaters need reasons to be mad at you, so they can continue to justify their actions. If they allow themselves to be happy about your gifts, it doesn't allow them to justify their cheating. If your relationship is really great right now, unfortunately, that could be a sign your SP is a cheater. This goes more for the relationships that weren't that great, and then out of nowhere, they're amazing. You might even be suspicious of it, and rightfully so. It's not normal for something to go from bad or okay to amazing. It usually takes effort. So, if it happens suddenly, there's a chance that your SP is getting their needs met elsewhere. And now they can focus on the good parts of the relationship, which tend to make them happier and appreciate you. Another common thing found amongst cheaters is they tend to accuse others of their own behaviour. The reason for this is manipulative in nature. It's called gaslighting. And in a way, it's meant to take the focus off of them and place it onto you. The gaslighter is cheating. They are planning the secret meetings with their lovers, getting a rush from it. They're invested in keeping up the charade to keep you off kilter. They start accusing you of cheating. The goal is to keep you so busy defending yourself and being emotionally distraught that you don't have enough time to pay attention to their gaslighting behaviour. If this is something your SP is doing very often, it's a big sign that they are having an affair. And although we appreciate it when our SP dresses up nicely for us, it also could be an indication of a cheater. If you find that your SP wasn't caring about their looks that much, and then suddenly they are, it's a strong sign that cheating is going on. It's normal for a relationship to get to a point where you aren't communicating as much as you used to. But it shouldn't get too bad. This type of thing is detrimental to your relationship. Not only that, but it's also a sign your SP might be cheating. It's often associated with an emotional affair. Pretty much, your SP may not have been getting the feedback they wanted from you. Whenever they would share a story with you, if this happens enough times, they tend to look for someone else to share those stories with instead. And once they find that person, they aren't going to confide in you as much. This form of cheating is classified as emotional infidelity. It's still cheating nonetheless. Technology is making it very easy for people to cheat. Although everyone is entitled to privacy, cheaters are abnormally cautious of leaving their phone around their SP, whether it's the lack of caring or emotional abuse. When your SP is increasingly showing disrespect towards you, they're showing disrespect towards your relationship. If you are finding that your SP is always liking the posts of certain people over and over, it's an indication of an affair. And though they may say they're just a friend or colleague, just remember that 85% of all cheating started in the workplace. If they constantly insist that you take a trip to get away, their unexplained charges on your bank or credit card statements, your gut is telling you something is not right. It's instinctive. The intimacy has faded. Their friends are acting differently around you. Most times, your SP's friends will know about the cheating before you do. And if they know, they're more likely to act very uncomfortable around you. If you're feeling really bold, it might even be worth it to ask the friends if your SP is cheating. Has their routine changed dramatically? Usually when your SP wants to make a change in their routine, they would invite you to be part of that change, right? Is there a higher use of social media out of the blue? Are they telling you a story they've already told you? Are they becoming more judgmental towards your relationship? These all can be signs of cheating, but only when paired in combination with some of the other signs. Have you tried to confront them on it and they get angry? Take a step back and evaluate everything. Do you have solid proof? If you find any form of birth control lying around, if you or your SP regularly used condoms, then this might not be an indicator. But if you don't, and you happen to spot one in the car or in the room, that's a strong sign. There's an affair going on. If they never use their phone around you, yet you find that your SP is always on the phone when you're not around, it's a strong sign of cheating. Obviously, these signs aren't evidence, they're all circumstantial. They are behaviours that cheaters often exude, which is why you should be careful. Sometimes our biases and paranoias warp our senses, making us see things that aren't really there. That being said, you should first confirm your suspicions by finding out whether they're cheating or not. For sure. Otherwise, stay vigilant and pay attention to all the possible signs. I'm here for you. Taylor Swift and Selena Gomez had a girls' night out last week in the Big Apple, and Blake Lively was nowhere to be found. On Saturday, May 31st, Swift, 35, and Gomez, 32, were spotted dining at the Monkey Bar in New York City. Pop Bay shared a photo of the two A-listers dining at the iconic restaurant on X. Notably absent was Lively, 37, who was once a fixture alongside Swift when the singer would venture out with friends to the New York City hotspots, including Zero Bond and Emilio's Balletto. Speculation continues to mount that Swift and Lively were on the outs. Amid the actress's bitter legal battle with her It Ends With Us co-star Justin Baldoni, Baldoni claimed he was ambushed by Swift during a meeting at Lively's New York City home. Regarding It Ends With Us, an alleged Lively called the singer one of her dragons, referencing Game of Thrones in a text. Baldoni's legal team initially sent the Cruel Summer singer a subpoena in May, but it was eventually dropped, according to the source, who spoke to Us Weekly. There's been radio silence between Taylor and Blake since the subpoena was dropped. Swift's outing comes after she announced that she had purchased her master for her first 6 albums: Taylor Swift, Fearless, Speak Now, Red, 1989, Reputation, from the private equity firm Shamrock Capital on Friday, May 30th. Swift penned a letter to fans on her website sharing the good news. Quote, "All of the music I've ever made now belongs to me. And all the music videos, all the concert films, the albums, art and photography, the unreleased songs, the memories, the magic, the madness, every single era, my life's entire work." Swift went on to express how much it finally meant for her to own her music. Quote, "To say this is my greatest dream come true is actually being pretty reserved about it. To my fans, you know how important this has been to me. So much so that I meticulously re-recorded and released 4 of my albums, calling them Taylor's version. The passionate support you showed those albums and the success story you turned the Eras Tour into is why I was able to buy back my music. I cannot thank you enough for helping to reunite me with this art that I have dedicated my life to, but have never owned until now. Congratulations, Taylor." South Korea has handed a decisive victory to opposition candidate Lee Jae-myung 6 months after his predecessor's martial law bill failed. The brief yet disastrous move set off huge protests and ended former President Yoon Suk Yeol's career. Impeachment and removed from office. He still faces criminal charges for abusing his power. But the political chaos that followed means victorious Lee's biggest challenge is still ahead of him. He must unite a polarized country that is still reeling from all of it. He also faces challenges abroad, crucially negotiating a trade deal with the US President Donald Trump to soften the blow of tariffs from the South Korea's closest ally. His main rival was the ruling party candidate and a former member of Yoon's cabinet, Kim Moon-soo. He had been trailing Lee for weeks in polls, and in the early hours of Wednesday, he conceded defeat. Congratulating Lee on his victory, In an earlier speech, Lee had hinted at the win, but stopped short of declaring it. He said recovering South Korea's democracy would be his first priority. The snap election comes just 3 years after the 61-year-old lost his last presidential bid by a razor-thin margin to Yoon. It's a remarkable comeback for a man who's been caught in several political scandals, from investigations over alleged corruption to family feuds. Analysts say Lee's win is also a rejection of the ruling People Power Party, or PPP, which was tarred by Yoon's martial law order. Voters weren't necessarily expressing strong support for Lee's agenda. Rather, they were responding to what they saw as a breakdown of democracy. Park Soon-yuk Min, president of Min Consulting, told the BBC, "The election became a vehicle for expressing outrage and was a clear rebuke of the ruling party, which has been complicit in or directly responsible for the martial law measures. Lee's win," he adds, "shows that voters have put South Korea's democracy above all else." Yoon's departure also left his former party divided and in disarray, delaying the announcement of a presidential candidate until early May. The chaos in the PPP went beyond just Yoon, as 2 acting presidents who followed were also impeached before one of them was reinstated, a sign of how contentious South Korea politics have become. All of this certainly helped the opposition Democratic Party and its candidate, Lee, who signalled more stability. But now that he has won the election, his challenges are far from over. He faces a trial in the Supreme Court over charges of violating the election law. The court postponed the trial until after the election to avoid interference, because a conviction could have barred him from contesting. But it's not clear what happens to Lee if Lee is found guilty, although the law says sitting president cannot be prosecuted for criminal offences, with the exception of insurrection or treason. Lee has had a controversial career in which he has built a loyal base, but he has also drawn disapproval and ire for what some have called an abrasive style. He has spoken openly of a tough childhood in a working-class family. Before he went to university and became a human rights attorney, he then switched to politics to have a political career, making his way up the DP, until in 2022 he became the presidential candidate. He campaigned on a more liberal platform, promising to address gender inequality, for instance. But after he lost the vote, he pivoted, opting this time to move more toward the centre and play it safer with his policies in office. He will also need to reach across the aisle and work with the PPP party, a party he battled regularly during Yoon's term. But he may need some of them to work with him to rebuild public trust and mend a fractured country. Years of escalating polarization under both the previous Moon and Yoon administrations have left South Korea's political landscape bitterly divided. Mr. Park said, "Lee may speak of national unity, but he faces a profound dilemma: how to pursue accountability for what many view as an attempted insurrection, without deepening the very divisions he seeks to heal." Despite the PPP loss, Yoon still has a considerably strong and vocal support base, and they aren't likely to go away anytime soon. His supporters, mainly young male voters and the elderly, often echo strong right-wing narratives, and many of them believe his declaration of martial law was necessary to protect the country. Many also, peddling conspiracy theories, believe Yoon's party was a victim of election fraud. Thousands protested against his impeachment, and in January, shortly after his arrest, a pro-Yoon crowd stormed a courthouse and assaulted police officers. With Yoon gone, there are questions about who might fill the vacuum for his base. One name in particular has emerged, Lee Jun-suk, who also ran for president, but dropped out earlier on Tuesday, when exit polls suggested he was trailing too far behind, with just 7.7% of the votes. Still, he has been especially popular with many young men for his anti-feminist views, which has mirrored some of Yoon's views, under which equality for women became a polarizing subject. Young men in their 30s came out in higher numbers than usual to vote this time, drawn in part by the candidates like Lee Jun-suk that wanted to hold the PPP lead government accountable, and others wanting to ensure Lee Jae-myung's presidency was dashed, led to his year's voter turnout reaching 79.4%, the highest since 1997. However, it is not just healing these divides at home that will keep Lee busy in the immediate future. He also faces urgent challenges abroad, such as navigating the US-Korea alliance under the new Trump administration. South Korea's pressing domestic challenges are increasingly intertwined with global dynamics, Mr. Park said, adding that it has implications for the country's economy and defense. Given that the US is both a crucial trading partner and security ally, a trade deal with the US is at the top of the agenda, he said, with sluggish demand and slowing growth already hurting the economy. Lee, a seasoned politician, goes into office knowing all of this, and in the early hours made a promise to South Korean voters. I will do my utmost to fulfill the great responsibility and mission entrusted to me so as not to disappoint the expectations of our people, Lee told reporters, with movements like 4B arising as a result of the feminist issues in Korea. It will be interesting to see how this will evolve. Okay, so we are going to be discussing Survivor, which does not really have couples, but they do have ways they work together, and they do have working together skills, which can be interpreted as red flags in relationships. Survivor is a show about working together, social skills, physical threats, doing games, competitions, having rewards where you can bring others on, so it's a lot of strategy as well. And then at the final, you have the option of making fire. Now, for the sake of the fact that they weren't really pairs, there were more alliances in multiples, we are just going to focus on the final four, which consisted of Camilla, Kyle, Joe and Eva. Now those are two very strong duos which were pair partners, which were exactly the opposite as far as Joe and Eva were incredibly out there and everyone knew of them, whereas Kyle and Camilla nobody knew about till the end. They were very stealth. Now, it's interesting how it seemed that, I'm not sure if it was that they morphed into each other or if that is kind of how they are, because Joe was just so, I want to believe that he is a real man. I want to believe that he is genuine, sincere, and all the things that he represented, because he showed so many great qualities, such great morals, so many wonderful supportive characters of honesty and truth and strength and just purity, which is a very rare thing to see. But he also attracted the purity in Eva, and the thing is, who was actually the pure one? Was it her or was it him? I want to say it was him, because although she is autistic, she did seem to have a little bit more of that villain side to her. If you kind of listen to her diary, and I wouldn't say it's necessarily villain, or the fact that that's just how her brain works. And then she bonded with him, and then just complete trust, purity. I don't know, or was she the purity because I don't know. Anyway, then we have Camilla and Kyle, who they just understood that they needed to be secret, and that they were more powerful working in secret. The only problem was that Camilla showed her cards too soon, before she knew who was going to be the chooser of making it go to fire. Because this is why you never show your hand too soon, ladies, because out of guilt he would have not made a move on her. He was ambivalent, but she gave him the out, and she allowed him to choose her when she said that she would choose him first. She spoke too soon. Never show your cards. But yeah, anyway, it was a great season. I loved it. It was very entertaining. It was wonderful. I have some secret thoughts that I keep fighting saying because they would be controversial, but yeah, I don't know if I would have watched the finale if Mitch had been in the final 3 and had to make a speech. That's all I have to say on that. Anyway, I did watch it and it was amazing. I loved it. It was entertaining. But yeah, thank you for another entertaining season, Survivor. There weren't many red flags in this season because there were so many good, wonderful people that were trying to do it differently. It's a great job on casting, and we look forward to the next season. Thank you. Cheers. Love Island UK is back, and season 12 is scheduled to begin on the June 9th, airing in the US on Hulu. Love Island is one of the most popular dating show series to date, pun intended, with twists and turns, emotional upheavals, OG and bombshell daters that share a bed starting night 1. Competitions to test compatibility, and real-life emotions that get played with as an expected part of the experience. So naturally, it's a fan favourite. And because so many people watch it, and the dating is fast-paced, with people getting kicked off of the island, I feel compelled to do a weekly update to ensure I catch most, if not all, of the red flag behaviours, so that you don't fall prey and accept behaviours that you shouldn't because you saw it on telly. Whilst the official cast has not yet been revealed, there are some rumours about a few that are said to be entering the Love Island villa. Ellie Ray Wise, who most recently left the celebrity Big Brother house, however, is most famous for her role in the newest season of The Only Way is Essex. Allegedly, according to Cosmopolitan, the diva is in talks to be entering the villa this year, despite being a popular regular of reality television. Another familiar face is Cody Murphy, who was a Casa Amor bombshell in the show's 10th season back in 2023. A model influencer, Cody hinted that producer had been in contact with him in a TikTok. Captioned, POV, Love Island made the call again. This wouldn't be the first time the show has brought back old Islanders, most famously with a fan favourite, Adam Collard, originally in season 4, but returned in season 8. Also, daughter of Real Housewives of Cheshire cast member Tanya Bardsley, and former Manchester United footballer Phil Bardsley. Gabrielle, no stranger to reality telly, as she stars in their family show, The Bardsley's Bunch, as well as owning her own skin treatment business. The rising talent has over 70k followers on Instagram, so her following would be overjoyed to see the star on telly again. Michelle Roscoe is another rumoured cast member who has a large social media following with almost 24k on her Instagram. Michelle would make history as the show's first ever transgender contestant, breaking down barriers for future series, with nothing yet confirmed. This is all speculative, but it would be an impressive series if any of these rumoured cast members pop up in Mallorca. Love Island UK is set to air June 9th, and the 10th year anniversary show, A Decade of Love, aired June 1st. So stay tuned and be entertained as well as learn useful life skills.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, get ready to laugh and help me welcome to the stage Varoga Lalani.
So I stopped dating short men. And it's not because I'm shallow. I'm very deep, fellas, because I'm 5'11". You get lost.
Yes!
I've actually stopped because of an injury. A stressed spinal column. My knees are always trying to swing from my neck. They get this arm hook and lock and pull me in. And probably, stemming from a life of insecurity, they're always trying to conquer, dominate me. It always becomes a weird wrestling yoga match, and now I need a chiropractic and some Reiki. Don't even get me started on selfies. When I try to get the both of us in the frame whilst standing, he's so far down it's like I'm taking a scenic photo of the Hollywood sign. Plus, every time we go to a concert, I'm the one who ends up being the human periscope.
Nope.
No, babes, of course I don't mind if you get on my shoulders.
Nope. No way!
I want you to see the band too. I'm getting so fit because every time we're together it's a workout. And I sometimes recognise that special look from a concerned stranger. They're not concerned about my well-being. They think I'm a paedophile and questioning if they should phone the police. I just make strong eye contact with the stranger after I kiss him and whisper, his parents said it was okay. And I can't take the puns. I'm not short, I'm fun-sized. Yeah, well, I'm not buying a ticket to the fun park. And even rides have size standards. Look, I'm all for inclusivity, but when it comes to dating, I've decided to raise the bar. Literally.
And check out the latest from Aglorev Entertainment for all of your level up needs.